One of the things that Academic Agent has said before is that the purpose of his channel is to de-boomerize your mind, to get rid of the toxic and moronic thinking that is at the root of so many problems on the right, and is why we can't seem to win anymore. I share that same mission. One of my best performing videos I've made so far was a video titled The Problem with Mike Rowe. There is an entire subset of old men just like him who refuse to update their models of how the world actually works. Not some fantasy of how it used to work, but how it actually works right now in the year of our Lord 2022. It is incredible to me to see people that used to provide a lot of value becoming more and more insane and irrelevant over time. And Dave Ramsey is one of those people in my view. His entire gimmick is dependent on a static post-war boom economy, which of course we don't have anymore and is impossible to get back to. There are aspects of his talking points that are evergreen, I'm not denying that, but he's increasingly becoming more and more out of touch with reality, just like Mike Rowe. The other day, he posted this video titled 7 Million American Males Refuse to Go to Work. Here's why. Wherein Dave goes on to rant about how lazy everyone is. This is the video we'll be going through and dissecting. Now, I know that Dave Rubin is just another grifter and not really worth quoting, but he used to work for the Young Turks, and every time there was a black or gay or female conservative, aka a traitor to the Democrats, he noticed that the Young Turks would rip them to shreds. They would be labeled as dishonest, liars, cheaters, moronic, on, and he usually went along with this. Until one day they ripped into somebody that he personally knew to be an absolutely upstanding person, and none of what they said could even apply to him. And he started to think in his mind that maybe they were wrong about those other people too. You see, this is a tactic that closed-minded ideologues use to avoid actually engaging the issues in good faith, and to ensure that they always maintain a perfect record of being absolutely right all the time. And this is what Dave is doing in this video. Rather than acknowledge the actual facts on the ground and accept reality, Dave shrinks back into his cocoon and tries to make us believe that 7 million men aged 25 to 40 are wimpy, sheltered, and propped up by their mommy. Now, if 7 million foreign, able-bodied men aged 25 to 40 ended up here in America, Dave Ramsey would call this an invasion. Because, of course, 7 million men aren't just sitting around. They get up to stuff. But when it comes to business and money, they magically just turn into lazy wimps. And there's no blame on him or people like him at all. Now, before we get into this video, I want to play a different clip first, and this will prime how we view the main video. It was a video on paying people a living wage. And Dave had this to say.
The buzzword that's the problem in this is living wage.
And who determines that?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you who determines it. Me.
Right. That's my point. Not what
I'm
culture
the employer.
is saying.
No, I'm the employer. Here's the thing, okay? If I pay $12 an hour, or if I pay whatever you want to, whatever minimum wage is in your area, okay? And a guy comes in and you do a budget on the guy and he has 5 kids and he needs $90,000 a year to pay his bills and feed his kids. I can't, as a Christian, hire him for that job because I can't pay him $90,000 to do that job. And $90,000 for him is a living wage because that's what it takes to feed his 5 kids. Okay? If I have a 19-year-old who lives with his parents, comes in and is looking for part-time work, and any money he makes is going in his pocket because he has basically no personal overhead, and $12 an hour is what I can afford as the employer, then that is his living wage.
And all of that is true. He can put a price on what he thinks the job is worth. But what drives me up a wall is that these retards quit the thinking right there. This is where they can stay right for eternity, and so they'll never move beyond it. They just stop, and they never acknowledge that there is another side to the story. The person applying to that job can just say no, or not apply to that job. That's not enough for me to work for you. We are constantly told that there are 10 million open jobs in America right now, and they're not being filled. Now, what is more realistic? That there's 10 million great jobs out there and people just don't want to work? Or is it that they're the exact kind of job that Dave put out there? They're $12 an hour, part-time. Let's say you work this $12 an hour job 25 hours a week. That's $600 every 2 weeks before taxes. That's $15K a year before taxes. Even the 19-year-old who lives at home cannot make it on that. Let's say you want to save up for a car. Well, you can't get a loan, according to Dave. You have to save up for it first. Well, good luck getting a reliable car under $5,000 right now. You're getting a turd for that kind of money. Well, how long will it take you to save up $5,000 and all the money you need to fix it and make it reliable? Let's say you save 50% of all your money. And let's do it before taxes, okay? Well, that will take almost 8 months living on $300 spread over 2 weeks. The whole thing is a joke and out of touch with reality. And what Dave doesn't understand is that if people reject those kind of jobs, it does not mean they're lazy, and it doesn't mean they're not working. Not working for huge corporations that report this kind of stuff. I think a huge proportion of them are working underground and off the books. But anyways, with all that groundwork laid that I'm going to refer to later in this video, let's get into the main video.
We've got a large number of jobs available and no one applying for them.
No, we have a large number of crappy jobs available that no one wants to apply for. Let's get that straight.
There's a shortage of labor for the first time in post-World War II America. We've never seen this in modern America.
Yes, we've never seen corporate America screw up the job market so badly that 10 million jobs are essentially worthless.
And the reason there's a shortage is not because the jobs are so plentiful. It's because there are, according to this article from Fox News, quoting Micro and quoting this economist, there are now 7 million able-bodied males between 25 and 40 years old that are able to work and are not even looking for work.
Yeah, it's correct, and it's staggering. And so the point here is that what's going on? This is causing massive economic problems. Before we look at the social, very quick glance here. When you have a gap in the jobs like we've had now for the last 2 years, then you've got real small businesses being hurt by this. Think about the restaurants in your small town. They can't find people to work, and it's affecting their livelihood.
Yeah, think of these poor restaurants that simply will not pay people enough to work for them and how much that causes them to suffer. My God, the humanity of it all.
Then the other economic factor is, of course, we still see a war for talent. And so wages have gone up tremendously in the last 2 years, which has now led to a stubborn inflationary period that we are in.
Wages are not outpacing inflation. They've never outpaced inflation. That's part of the problem here.
Now, that's the economic piece.
That is not the whole economic piece, as we know. See, they just throw away everything that's not relevant to their point. That's intellectual dishonesty.
The social piece, what's crazy about this is that you've got 6.8 million people that last month, according to the latest jobs report and the Census Bureau, 100 million Americans weren't working last month. Now, half of them
100 million. That's
100
not
million.
right.
100 million. But half
were working.
No, hold on.
No, we don't have 100 million unemployed. There's only 300 million in the whole stinking
Didn't say
country.
they were
No, Dave, that's 330 million, but who's counting?
unemployed. I'm saying just not working, period. I'm just breaking the numbers down for you.
Oh, yeah, like toddlers.
Half are retired.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Another 12% are dealing with some type of long-term illness, or disability. Okay. And then 5.6 million people saying, I don't want to go back to work because they're scared of COVID. And then the number is right at 7 million that are saying, I don't want to work. And those are the men. So the social factor that's going on here is you've got two factors. One, you've had decades and decades of entitlements. Starts with welfare. And then if you look at during COVID, where people were getting payments every week, every month.
I swear to God, this is the only thing they ever have. This is their only talking point, and it is blatantly untrue. The additional COVID unemployment benefit from the federal government was $300 a week. You get it for like 6 months at the max. Okay? So if you add it all up, that's almost $8,000. Well, that ended in September 2021, way over a year ago. You cannot retire on $8,000, you morons. I guarantee that money is gone for almost everyone who took advantage of it. Why are we still talking about this as if it's a factor? This is just stupid.
All right, so that's an entitlement where they're disincentivized to actually go back to work. And then, Dave, I think the fact that for decades we've literally taken the pain away from our kids. We've removed the struggle. And I don't say this with jest, but I think when you look at things like everybody gets a trophy for participation, and nobody learns the sting of failure.
Oh my God. Okay, let's just say that this is true just for a second. This is insane. This is oh, golly, like 2007 called. It wants its talking points back. I mean, let's just say that a participation trophy is what they give you for showing up and participating. Now, what is a paycheck? It's something that they give you for showing up and participating. If you work and you don't get a paycheck, that makes you retarded. What is the point of work? You do it because you need money, because life isn't free.
Nobody learns the sting of rejection. So what happens is a good amount of the 7 million men, not all of them, are in this conversation that Mike had with this economist, are looking at screens based on the data. They say how much time they spend on screens. They get dopamine hits.
2,000 hours a year.
2,000 hours a year.
These 7 million men, 25 to 54, are spending 2,000 hours a year on screens.
So self-medicating because they're scared to leave the cave, using your old analogy.
Not cave, it's mother's basement.
This would be weird in 1972, but it's 2022. So what the hell? That's roughly 5 hours a day. You want them to go to a job where they will spend 8 hours a day in front of a screen. Do I have that right? Screens are everywhere, buddy. Wake up, Grandpa.
Right. But the idea is they're afraid to put themselves out there. And here's what we know about work. So when someone succeeds in work, their self-esteem goes up.
This assumes that you can succeed in work. This assumes that people still reward you for working hard. And you know what they say about assuming.
2, they have financial independence or the opportunity for financial freedom.
Not at these 10 million open jobs, they don't. Not at any job, to be honest with you. You're going to find financial independence and freedom at the average job? This is insanity. What does job stand for? Just over broke. That's all a job is. You think these 7 million men all contain the skill set to go get a job that sets them free financially? No way. I mean, there's not even 7 million great jobs in America total. So that's immediately wrong. It's this kind of thinking that just needs to die immediately.
And then 3, they're a part of something bigger than themselves. It's a sense of belonging.
Dr. John Deloney would tell you your mental health goes up because your dignity, your autonomy,
that's it.
Your ability to control your environment goes up. There is such a mental illness tie-in.
No question.
Caused by not working.
That's right.
Literally.
Yeah. When you're making $12 an hour part-time with no benefits at a dead-end job with no future, surrounded by losers and morons who don't work and you have to, but you never get to see the carrot at the end of the stick because it doesn't exist, that's when your mental health goes up. Come on, everybody. Work will set you free, as it says on the Auschwitz labor camp gate.
So this idea that you have not put gravel in the stomach of your kids, they have no grit, means as a parent you suck. And so you mommies need to throw your 25-year-old out of your basement yesterday and put him on the street and teach him to work.
Okay, let's do this. Now he's saying that these kids that have never worked before, meaning they have no job experience, we got to kick them out. But they'll be starting at the bottom. Now, I have a street in my town, as I'm sure you do, and it goes for miles. And it's full of shops and restaurants and Best Buys and Sonics and gas stations and tanning salons. Now, all along that street, there are signs at many of the places that say that they're hiring. is 20-year-old Timmy that you're going to kick out, is he going to live by himself at one of those places? No. In fact, no one can live and work at any of those places without being financially supported by someone else. That's just a cold, hard fact. And if Timmy wants a job at the factory, well, they have standards, and good luck with that. You know, they want 5 years experience, 3 years experience. You're never going to get in just bottom level at a place like that. So you're condemning him to work at a place that he cannot work at and live at the same time.
You're late to the party, but you need to do this. You are doing him a disservice. You are doing America a disservice. You are doing your neighbors a disservice. You're doing the mental health community a disservice. You're risking his increased likelihood of depression, anxiety, and suicide.
That's exactly right.
I guess I don't get this one. Who commits the most suicide, Dave? Oh, that's right. Middle-aged white men. Who all just don't work, I guess? The entire backbone of the freaking country? They don't work? So work and work culture has nothing to do with that either, I'm assuming? Sure. This is a great worldview you got going on, bud.
You are doing all of these things because you're letting Junior play Call of Duty 2,000 hours a year in your basement, and he ain't ever been called to any duty.
Yeah. And the irony is you're doing all of that under the guise of helping your kid feel good about themselves, and the very thing that they need to feel good about themselves is to go out and do good.
Yeah, it's the wussification of America.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of wussies.
Yeah.
Is what it amounts to. And, you know, seriously, a good cowboy boot in the butt of this whole thing would be helpful.
I like work, okay? I think people need to work. In general, I think it's good for you. I think most men enjoy working, which is why the vast majority of them do work. I have done tons and tons of hard work in my life. I'm not saying that Timmy doesn't need to work. But the situation has changed. And what boastful, idiot boomers like Dave Ramsey cannot seem to understand is that the world was different for young people when he was young. That post-World War boom is never going to happen again. You know, college was attainable. Buying a decent house for a low cost at a great interest rate was possible. Growth at your job was possible. Yearly raises were a thing. Used cars were affordable. Gas was 5 cents a gallon. On and on and on it goes. But things have changed. And for decades, people have accepted basically what were slave wages, and they've made it work. But post-COVID, and with inflation, that cannot happen anymore. The logistics just don't work. And so the solution would be to take a hit on your profit margins and pay people better so you fill the open jobs and our society doesn't have to go down the crapper. But these corporations refuse to do that. And every idiot talking about how the free market would solve this or that problem is just wrong. Because it turns out that capitalism, or, our society under capitalism, the corporations will simply refuse to pay people better, even if it means the entire system around you collapses. Screw it! So be it. That's the message they're sending.
It really, really would. It just pisses me off. I mean, this is just a thing where you just need to work. Oh, my God. 7 million, and they call them men in this article. I'll call them males. All right? Males, 25 to 40, 7 million of them literally sitting on their butts. And someone else is caring for them. The government, their mommy, their live-in girlfriend who thinks he's cute.
Here's the breakdown.
Got a sugar mama, do you, buddy?
Yeah. Here's some of the census data, Dave, from a Bloomberg article. The equivalent of 32 million people who aren't working are relying on savings. That includes retirement, okay? Another 26 million are using credit cards or loans, and 12 million have been borrowing
the
from
credit card
families.
is the devil. It's at the center of the problem.
There it is. And then here's the part we've been talking about. 12 million have said that they're borrowing from family or friends to help keep them out of the workforce.
Yeah.
They're living off
family
of
and friends.
You're
You're enablers.
Yep.
You're giving a drunk a drink. You're giving a lazy person the ability to still be lazy. You're giving someone who's in avoidance mode because they're afraid, they're scared, they're paralyzed by the facing reality and stepping into the real world, when the best thing that can happen to you, the most alive you'll ever feel, is when you risk it and you step up to the plate and the ball comes whizzing across and scares the piss out of you while you swing the bat. This is the best thing that can happen to you.
That's right.
And you strike out.
Right.
And it's okay.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't work out. Oh, darn.
Well,
The most alive that you'll ever feel is stocking shelves at Kroger for no money and no health insurance and no benefits and no vacation and no possibility of advancement, and being managed by retards who select their family, their friends, or other retarded people for advancement before they pick you. Isn't it funny how when we watched the Brian Kilmeade podcast with Mike Rowe, this is exactly where Brian took it as well. He used a sports analogy too. They see work as a risk, where I think most people see it as a math problem. I need $1,500 a month or I'm homeless. Ergo, I need a job that pays at least that. That has nothing to do with risk. And if you fail like they say, you're homeless. Well, that's nothing to say, oh darn, about. It's the real life struggle that somebody like Dave Ramsey is so far away from that he can't even empathize with it anymore, and he can only mock it. It's gross. And for being Mr. Bible Man, it's even more gross.
I think the simplest way to look at what Dave is saying is, remember all of us when we rode a bike the first time, we were terrified, horrified maybe.
I'm terrified right now.
Yeah. But what happened? Like, we took that fear, we stepped into it, we learned to ride the bike, and it wasn't much longer before we were saying, look, Mom, no hands. We go from terrified to get on the bike to look, Mom, no hands. And that's the human spirit, the idea of these kids, these men, I shouldn't say kids, but some of them are emotionally kids.
Yeah.
They need to feel alive, and the way you feel alive is by making a contribution for yourself and for others.
The Faustian spirit of human advancement only applies for a very, very small percentage of people. I don't know if you've been to a Walmart lately, but that ain't what people are these days. COVID showed us that people are nothing more than sheep. And those sheep aren't all going to be entrepreneurs and businessmen. Most of them just need a job that lets them get by. That's it. That's what jobs are.
That's simple.
You don't feel alive where there's no risk.
Well, that's exactly right.
And the coddling of the American male, the wussification of this culture, it is really starting to be a social problem.
And now an economic
It started out as a parenting problem. It started out as this. And hey, man, I don't know. No. I'm just going to blame you, moms and dads.
Well, I would say the friends and the parents are absolutely culpable. And I would say this.
I can blame Call of Duty if you want, but moms and dads that are good moms and dads rip that crap out of the wall and say, get your butt out and mow the grass.
Here's one other one. We the people, taxpayers, we got to
quit giving these morons money to sit on their butts.
No more government entitlements. That's where we the people can do something.
There's no one more entitled than boomers who have had it good their entire life and cannot accept less, even as the country falls apart around them. If boomers had to live the average life of a millennial or Zoomer, with all of the opportunities that are presented to us or not presented to us, they would kill themselves. Get out of here. And who gets all the entitlements? What is Social Security but an entitlement? You think millennials are getting this? You think Zoomers are getting this? I don't even think Gen X is going to get it. It's over. You got it. You got your pensions. We don't get any of it. But yes, we're all lazy, so I guess that settles it. Idiot. Well, basically what we have is a Mexican standoff between an employer and a potential employee. And the employer says, we've got $12 an hour, 25 hours a week. That's what we got for you. And the person says, well, I need more money than that to live. And then the employer says, no one wants to work these days. Bunch of lazy bastards. This is where we're at. This is what Dave Ramsey represents. He represents the stupid side of that argument. It's just such a joke. So, going forward, save your money. Don't get into debt. But don't listen to Dave Ramsey. He's an idiot. He's just another boomer that is contributing to the ruinization of society. Other than that, I got no other strong thoughts. Peace.